There we go. All right. Ron Clark is here with us at the National Urban Ministry Conference in North Little Rock, Arkansas. Ron, for everyone who doesn't know you already, where are you from?
I'm Ron Clark. I'm with Agape Community Ministries in Portland, Oregon.
Oregon.
My wife and I both are the co-directors of that organization.
And for those who just now found out who you are and that you're from Portland, Oregon, I bet they don't know Agape Community Ministries either. So tell us all about that work.
Agape Community Ministries, we are focused on helping with domestic violence. We do a lot of faith-based trainings, but we work with county agencies and state organizations to do trainings. I'm an expert witness in court for attorneys in domestic violence. And then we both help partner with individuals and their agencies in getting them help finding safety and so forth.
How long have you been at that?
Well, we've been doing it since Bonne Terre, Missouri, back in 1994.
Okay.
And we, all those years from that time till about 2020, I was a minister in a church, and we were both working, in ministry, having people in our church that need help, and then working with agencies. So my wife and I had all of our training done through the county agencies, batterer agencies, YWCA and so forth. And so they've been generous at helping us be prepared to work with them.
Yeah. First of all, tell us, how many times have you been to this conference?
I'm ashamed to say this is only my second time.
Well, this is my first, okay. So no shame there.
I came to the one in Oklahoma City quite a few years ago, and then Dr. Clower invited me to come do a session on domestic violence. And so I'm back and realizing, this is a good place to be every year to learn a lot of ministry techniques.
And I have to share what you told me before we started recording. You led your session this morning, and you said something I think is very interesting. You said when you do sessions like these at what we'd call general public conferences, the room is packed.
Yeah.
But in your experience, when you do sessions like these at faith-based or Christian conferences, you said there may be 3 or 4 people in the room.
Yeah, that's what we've noticed.
Yeah, but you said today the room was packed, and this is a Christian ministry conference. So I'm sure you have to be very pleased about that. What do you think could possibly explain the difference?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think a lot of it has to do with these are people who are working hands-on with individuals and doing that work, and so they're seeing that, we need to learn about domestic violence that we're already working with, and what's a faith-based perspective and so forth, and how to partner with agencies. And I think that's the strength of this conference. It's a practitioner-led.
Yeah. Yes. Practitioner, meaning that, as you and I talked about, we're not just sitting around having conversations about ideas, but the people at this conference are actually encountering situations where they need to know what to do on a regular basis.
Yes, and so it's very similar to the non-faith-based conferences where I'll have law enforcement, attorneys, advocates who are saying we're working with faith-based clients. We want to know why this is an issue, or I'm a faith-based person and my church isn't dealing with it. Is this normal? So I think the practitioner comes out in all of them in these conferences.
So change gears here a little bit. What do you see God doing in Portland, Oregon these days?
Yeah, contrary to what people think, Portland is not on fire. It is. We moved there in '98 from Missouri.
Yeah,
and I think as a minister, I was treated much differently, held at suspect. But once we plugged in and started working, Lori and I were very much embraced by the community. And I see God working in Portland. The negative is we've lost 45 sexual assault advocates in Portland due to government funding. So we're down to 5.
Wow.
We're losing resources for survivors. So I actually see God moving a lot of openness to partnerships with their agencies. They're very open. I have judges and attorneys that are that are very willing to supply me with things to help, help them. And so I see God moving through a lot of people to bring justice to victims. And I think Lori senses that as well in her relationships with people that are advocates in the community that are like, we're glad you're here. What can we do to help you? And likewise,
Yeah. So you kind of answered the next question, but maybe you can riff on it a little more. I've asked other people if you observe God up to something in your city, is there anything that God is doing that seems to be a new thing? And then if you've been at it for a long time, if you've been in your city for 32 years and you've been doing this kind of work for 32 years, how are you trying to adjust to join God in that new thing that God is doing?
Well, the new thing is a response to a lack of justice for survivors and victims.
Mm.
So working in the courts, I mean, we're showing up to court prepared, and the victim's attorneys and all the people testifying for the victim are prepared. The offender shows up late and really doesn't get punished for it. And then these things drag out for months. And so women have had to continue to have their children exposed to a batterer over this time. So this lack of justice that we're seeing in our city, I feel that God is using us, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are on the same team, but God is using us to kind of step in these holes and stand up and speak out about taking care of victims, and so these guys continue to violate restraining orders and nothing is done. We're able to say, look, we've got to be doing something. And I'm getting the feedback of, you're right, we do, but we're overwhelmed. We need more resources. So I'm finding more clergy open to being trained to address this in their churches now. So that's, God's people can step up in this hole and start speaking out and helping. And I'm seeing that happening more readily.
Yeah. You're talking about problems in the legal system itself that are hard to change, right? Because it's the legal system. When you talk about ministers being trained as you're trained, some people listening to this may wonder, well, what can a minister do about domestic violence, or trained for what? What role can you fill? Perhaps in the context of a legal system that's not doing what it needs to do, or you mentioned large cuts to resources that were previously available. I reckon a lot of people listening to this have never even thought of this before.
Yeah. Well, right now, the take from survivors and from advocates is the faith community is making the problem worse. So what I think some things that what we need is, first of all, we need, in light of the increasing internet pornography use of seminary male students, so we need men to start taking account on their behaviors and how they treat women.
Wow.
And I think if male leaders definitely, and male and female leaders together need to create healthy systems. Secondly, Agape Community Ministries is here to train ministers to preach on domestic violence and create safe places in their congregation. The research we've got so far after 2 years of clergy cohorts are that 85% of the people feel positive when a sermon on domestic violence is given. 75% of the respondents want to be involved. 99% of the people know exactly how God feels about domestic violence. So for ministers to preach about it, it builds up a church. It helps survivors feel there's resources, but it engages people. So if we can get more ministers talking about it, more ministers prepared, developing congregations where they're safe, because there's a significant number of people in our congregations experience domestic violence or as kids. So if we can create those systems, then we're adding another brick into this, to this wall that our communities are trying to build to help victims.
Yeah.
And we can create communities that are safe, that help people worship God, glorify God, heal, and then also become a resource for the community that's losing funds.
Yeah. I wasn't going to bring this up, but I think I we talked about it before we hit record. We're at a national urban ministry conference. And so obviously we're talking about city churches, city ministries, cities in general. But the discussion you and I had before we did this is domestic violence a city problem, or is it a problem everywhere? And so I think the question I'll ask you, because I think everyone watching this will say, well, actually, it's probably a problem everywhere.
Yeah.
Is there something in particular about the city, though? Is there a particular kind of domestic violence that's maybe endemic to the city, or issues of being in the city that make it particularly worse or difficult? Is there a difference or not?
No, there, globally and then even just in our country, the statistics have been pretty consistent. 1 in 4 females have experienced domestic violence, intimate partner violence in their life. The reason we think it's more of a city problem is because people live in crowded conditions. So, you'll call if you hear your neighbor being violent towards their partner. People in close housing will do that. Out in the country, they're a little more spread out, a little more private, but we still see the way women are treated. The misogyny is still prevalent wherever we are. I think we assume it's an urban problem because we assume evil just happens in the urban context, and that's why everybody's leaving. But it's the same either way. It may be more in an urban complex. We have, more law enforcement. We have more resources. People will call, like if they hear something going on. People tend to live closer, so they know each other a little more. But I think we're mistaken if we think it's just an urban problem, because it's everywhere.
Yeah, I was just thinking right now, I'm just riffing on what you're saying. In the city, from my experience living in the city, one of the things that struck me when I first moved there is everybody's strangers, right?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people living together, but you don't know each other. Whereas in a rural or a small community, in my experience, because I lived in both, maybe domestic violence doesn't get reported, not only because of the distance, but because people know each other.
Good old boys club.
And, you kind of take care of things without involving the system. Right.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's not there at all.
Well, actually, our training originally began in a small town in south of St. Louis in Bonne Terre. And so when we moved to the city, we thought, I think it's going to be better here because there's more resources, but we saw it was the same.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this final question here. This is your second time at the National Urban Ministry Conference. We've been here about a day now.
Yeah.
So what are you going to take away from this, do you think?
Well, what I loved about the one years ago was it was very practitioner based.
Yeah.
A lot of the conferences I go to or speak at are more, from the academic perspective. But I've learned just from talking to people, about those who do hands-on work and hands-on ministry, there's a real need to train people and help support those. And I think so many people partner with agencies, whether it's food banks or food distributions, or, even working with schools or, housing and houselessness. And I'm just impressed with the people that are doing that, but are willing to come and learn how to do ministry more effectively. And I think we need resources in that area.
Yeah.
And I teach for Harding School of Theology. I teach at George Fox University. I have a doctorate, and I get the academic side, but I know practitioners are the ones doing the hands-on work, and we've got to be, empowering them and getting them ready to do that. And it has to be teaching that is actually applicable to their life.
Yeah. Well, Ron Clark, Portland, Oregon, Agape Community Ministries. Yeah. And he wrote a column as well on Church and City. Make sure you read that as well. Thanks for being here, Ron. Appreciate you.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Coming in close. Here's the awkward part. It's never going to stop. It's okay. I'll let it off the end. There.
Hey, that was a good interview. Thank you for the questions. I hope it was helpful.